Ruckus Avenue Radio.
Hi guys, welcome along to Sunny and Shay, our podcast Unfiltered with Ruckus Avenue Radio. We've been having such a fantastic time here in Los Angeles. We are recording live at the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the Dash Studios, and the whole point of the podcast has been to have a chat with amazing people.
And people who live here and use this city as their home, but also as a place of work and connection, and what brought them here. And if they are here, how do they feel about people who are walking in here? Now, me and Shay, we're from the outside. We're Londoners, right?
Yeah.
So we've always had a fascination with this town because we love entertainment. And it's these cities that we hear stories about. Someone who was, serving drinks on a bar one day and they're winning an Emmys the following, cool. Season. So it's just, this is the place it can happen because everyone's making content here. So we thought you have to come here and see what the vibe of the city is about.
Exactly. But alongside, your average actor, producer, there is so much more that this fantastic town has. And we're actually joined by such a guest now. We have Michelle Ranavat, who's the CEO of the beauty skincare company Ranavat, and actually first ever South Asian skincare line to launch in our neck of the woods in Harrods in London.
It took them that long?
Welcome. It's lovely to have you with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, it's interesting because, Harrods is well known in the United Kingdom as the place to be, right? So your brand being the first one, was that quite shocking to you when you realized they didn't have a brand there before?
Yes, but also no, because I had started the brand about 5 years ago. And so there has been a constant just push to get Ayurveda or Indian beauty rituals into the mainstream. So I feel like I've been sort of fighting that fight for a while. And we were also the first South Asian skincare brand to launch at Sephora.
Nice. Okay.
Super exciting. So I think based on those two facts, I mean, yes, I wish it does feel somewhat surprising or wow, I can't believe it took so long. Mm-hmm. But as the person that's been really dealing with this for a few years, I mean, it's taken a lot, but I'm so glad that's
So 5 years ago, what was it that motivated you to say, you know what, I need to bring this to the world, and or was it like the world isn't bringing this to me, so I need to, how did it work?
It was, you were talking about your daughter earlier. I mean, I have two boys, and 8 and 6. And I was going through postpartum hair loss and just postpartum in general. And, being South Asian, there's your mother-in-law will shove laddus in your face and start,
bring me on, all of that kind of stuff.
And actually, for at that point, I was like, for once in my life, I'm actually going to listen to my mom's advice. I'm actually going to do what she says I should do. So I did. I followed the advice. And going through all of those changes postpartum, I really just didn't recognize myself. I felt very like, who am I as a person from the inside? Because now my role has shifted. And then even from the outside, I felt like, I'm very sleep deprived and losing my hair. So, and then my mom at the same time was giving me all this nutrients and all these Ayurvedic products. And I was like, wait, this is really like working. So if I feel that, why don't I just use that for my skin too? Right. And so that's when I started to think and dig into hair oiling and all the things that we grew up with, but maybe didn't really give it that recognition.
And when you look at the products that are out there, don't forget you said that in India you can get tons of this stuff.
Yeah,
Oila da tel, this tel, that tel, this will do this for you, this will do that for you. And India is well catered with all of this stuff, right? But then tell us about the Ayurvedic part and the philosophy behind that, which is very much the core of why this works.
Well, it's really interesting. So my background is I'm an engineer. So I studied 2 different engineering degrees. And then I worked in pharma for 6 years. So I'm someone that, and like many South Asians or they see, is like we're very skeptical and very science and factual based people. So I think for me, one of it was like, okay, well, I went through a personal experience and my own experience showed results. So that was already like one indication in my head that like, okay, there's something here. Yeah. And then beyond that, I really thought like, and one thing that we did recently, actually it took a long time to get there, was do clinical studies on these products to actually prove the efficacy. So now we're not just like trusting, because this was an issue. It was like, well, this has been around for 5,000 years and your grandma's making it and whatever. That's not what I want for
tangible.
My skin. Yeah. Like, I don't want something that's old, but one person did tell me this, she's an amazing Ayurvedic practitioner. She's like, well, gravity was discovered a long time ago. Doesn't mean it's irrelevant today. It's still very valid. So why is something that we just is old, why does that necessarily mean? Like think about meditation. That's Ayurveda too.
Yeah.
That's very relevant today.
Look at yoga.
So, look at yoga. So
yoga,
why are we so quick to say old, outdated? But then in my mind, I was like, okay, but let's just get the facts too, and add the clinicals, because that's how people are shopping and making decisions. And I want to give people and bring Ayurveda up to like, you don't have to trust my grandmother. You can trust the science.
Do you find as a woman that people take you seriously when you're talking about skincare because you yourself are using it? I mean, you probably hear it all the time, but you actually have great skin. And so that must be,
your advertising.
Fantastic. Exactly. Your best advert is your skin. But, do people take you seriously when you talk about the process that you've gone through to launch the brand Ranavat?
I think that I have earned that in many ways, because one, I do actually only use my products, which I'm very strict about. Mm-hmm. And there'll be people on my team, they'll be like, oh, I tried this new thing from this brand, that brand. I don't. And because I know I am a representation of the brand, that not that I have to, I want to. These are I made them. So of course they're the most bespoke that I can get. Yeah. But also I know that when someone sees my skin, it's my responsibility to be that representation. Mm-hmm. So I definitely felt that way. And I think the other thing about earning that is really just on creating content and social media. I think the moment that I really started talking about the sourcing or my engineering background or the fact that I spent, so much time in pharma, that's really when I started to gain that credibility. And it wasn't overnight. It was very much, and still is, a process. Yeah. But I think it's not something, for sure it's not something that happened overnight. And I wasn't like an influencer or a known person that people already trusted that was creating a brand. I was nothing, nobody.
And when you look at creating a brand, and a brand is different from a product, because we've seen brands, they have someone behind them. Elon Musk is a prime example of Tesla, but then he's also the face of all the other SpaceX and all of that. So he's a brand that influences all the others. And then we've got the same thing with, I guess, Richard Branson. From America, the Virgin guy, right? So he's someone who's a brand, but then you've got his product, which is, so when you're creating a brand, is it very much yourself, or is it the product that's going to become the brand? So that's right now you're saying people want to invest in you, and then you can then show them, this is what you need to take from me. Or is it the other way around? Here's my product, and this is what is done for me. So that's the brand, and you are the product.
I think it has to be the other way around. Elon Musk is not Elon Musk without Tesla. If he just never did that, you'd be like, who cares about you? It wouldn't. He didn't have that, right? And so same thing with me. If my product sucked, it doesn't matter who I am. If I'm selling a bad product, you're not going to care about it. Yeah. So I think first and foremost, it is 100% about the product. There are situations where the person can be so bad, and you're buying a piece of that person through the product. Maybe that product doesn't have extrinsic value to it because it's just it's a hat. You could buy a hat anywhere, but the fact that it's a Louis Vuitton hat has some value to you because you want to associate yourself with the brand, or if it's a person, you want to associate with the person. That's really not, I think it was created for me, it was the opposite way. Right. And so I think it's really about the product first and foremost. But now what's really nice though is I have really started to put my personality out, which was not anticipated, to be honest. It was absolutely not anticipated. So that has really kind of created that connection.
Oh, we've got our lovely Anjal putting up a poster, but we need to tell it the other way around.
Yeah,
in the background.
I don't know if she realizes the other way around.
Yeah. Should we wave at her? I love it. Live in the podcast. Yeah, that's it. We need to turn it the other way.
Oh, right. Yeah, she just realized. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
She's like, oh my God. They're recording live. Bless her. It's okay. That's the beauty of podcast. That's the beauty of podcasting.
And I love the fact with so much confidence. Sure. There you go. That's perfect now. There you go. Oh no! Now she's throwing it up. You lot made her cry. You made her upset. Now she's throwing it away.
Oh no!
What's going on?
Okay, we're gonna have to tell her.
Dallas, come on, man.
We're gonna have to tell her.
Yeah, but
it's a pretty sign.
We'll get another one because they've got the saved on the computer. But when we talk about the branding aspect of it, and I love the fact that you said that it's the product that's going to make it. So, what were some of the challenges did you face bring this product to the market? Because with face products and all of that kind of stuff now, there's so many testings that has to go to different countries. It's not something that you can just say, oh, come to the market and I'll sell it to you. So does every country have a different regulation process that you have to put your product through?
Yes, there's definitely an entire regulatory, aspect to the business. You also, there's in some situations there's not as much regulation, but that actually makes it more challenging because you as yourself, you need to make sure that you're putting a safe product out into the world. So there's a lot, coming from pharma where the regulation is pretty intense, I felt like that gave me a good, basis to start like really understanding that aspect of it.
And sorry, go on, Karen.
Something I've learned in recent years, and I know Sunny's going through this process with me, is around SPF, sun protection, skin. Is that something you're looking at? Because I always find as Asians, we don't talk about that. And I've started to get freckles appearing on my skin, and my doctor's like, no, you need to protect your skin from the sun, which growing up, in my 20s, it's like, yeah, I'm brown, I'm fine.
Well, you do live in London, so I think you're probably a little safer than someone that's living in LA.
Yeah,
for both of us, it's equally as important, but the LA sun is just no joke. So I feel like just from the beginning, so much about, aging in gracefully or slowing down the signs of aging, so much of that's on the prevention side because it's very hard once you start seeing those signs to reverse. It's much easier to wear sunscreen every day, wear a hat, and take the precautions so that those things don't happen in the first place.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
We know that this idea of getting your cells to slow down, it's not a new science. It's an old science that not always got the support it needs, right? And this does come from the Asian continent. We talk about China and India as well, who very much were really hygienic and are hygienic. The first soap bar came from there, right? And so when you look at some of these traditions and some of the products that you're making, what are the ones that I guess moving forward are going to be your core ones that you want to highlight?
Well, I think for me, every product, the skincare market or the beauty market in general is incredibly saturated, and even if within Ayurveda, we may not have a ton of different brands, you're still competing with, and there's still so much out there. So for me, I just have a rule, I'm not launching things to just launch and have newness.
Right.
We haven't even launched a product this year for many reasons that I won't get into or I could get into later. But really when I think about like, what do we want to be about? It's like the ingredients have to tell a story.
Right.
There has to be a meaning and authenticity. Like our saffron serum, we make it over 10 days in copper vessels in India. So everything we do is actually made in India. And we're infusing these fresh herbs and we're using the authentic processes. So it's not just the ingredients that you put in, it's how you put those ingredients in that also makes a difference and plays into how efficacious it is. So to me, if you're not going to be innovative, if you're not going to bring something that has a new ingredient or new process, and you're not creating something that has a story or has meaning, like saffron is anti-anxiety. Monks, you put saffron on before you go into a temple because it calms you down. Like there's so many different reasons. If it doesn't have that story, I don't want to launch it.
See, it's so interesting. Your brand Ranavat is existing in a world where we've got Kim Kardashian who has her skincare range Skin. You've got Lori Harvey with her skincare range Skin. JLo Beauty, Fenty Beauty by Rihanna. There's so many different types of skincare beauty ranges out there. Is that part of how you ensure that Ranavat stands out, as you've just said? The ingredients having a story, but also, what more is it that you're looking at for the brand of Ranavat to stand out in, clearly what is quite an oversaturated market in the sense that a lot of these fans of these, artists or influencers are going to, buy their products just because they love them.
Yeah, I think competition is good, and I think that not even having this celebrity status as, many of the brands that you've mentioned, I think that just pushes me to like work harder, make a better product, and just be better, right? Like that's what having healthy, good competition is about. So one, I really don't pay too much attention, but also I just have my kind of rules on, what I expect for myself and the level that at which I want to create. So I'm always kind of pushing that. But I think the main The main thing I would say is like you are unique, right? We all have different fingerprints. We all have different life experiences. And so if I create something that's authentic to me, it's going to be unique because I am myself a unique person. And so I feel like that is something that I always kind of look back to is like, is this something that I would use? Is this unique to me? Is it different? And just kind of lean into my originality to create that product.
I was quite fascinated when you were talking earlier on about, how after giving birth, you had a lot of hair loss, and it's something I don't find a lot of Asian women talk about. I similarly had hair loss when I lost Tyra, and the number one thing like family members say is, you said earlier on, is oil your hair, or kind of it's dependent on your diet and what you're eating. And so, have you found that through Ranavat you're having these conversations that otherwise we don't get to have? I know you had quite a big launch at Harrods in London, and it was around the South Asian experience. How has that been for you, meeting with women who maybe have gone through what you've gone through?
Oh, I mean, it's been incredible because I really feel like I go back to that moment, and I definitely felt very alone, and I felt that people weren't talking about that experience enough. And
isolating,
so now,
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you just feel like you already went through this like very dramatic experience.
Yeah. In terms of the birth can be trauma.
Yeah, in terms of that, your new life, and then you're losing hair. Like it's just. And people, I think our community is not very shy about making comments. And
No solutions, but
they're not. Yeah, they're blatant.
It's like I just want to tell you. Of course, I noticed.
What, you think I can't see, or you think I?
Are you losing hair? Yeah.
Like, okay, great.
Do you think?
Got it. So I think that all of those things combined, it feels really alone. So I think it's amazing. I mean, I get so many sweet messages about how people feel a little bit less alone, and if that's an impact that I can have, then I mean, I would love to.
And how accessible is your products, I guess, to people who are probably in the climate that we're in economically? I think there are people and families who are not only want to look after their health, but they want to feed their families and heat their families, especially in the United Kingdom. Over here, we know drought and water is another issue that we've got in LA here. So how accessible are these products to people? Is it very expensive?
It is. So we're very luxury, which is actually it's one of the ways that I wanted to kind of express, because I saw, what Sabyasachi was doing, and I was like, wow, that's heritage, and just like the artisanship that, how long he takes to make like one lenga, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's preserving all these like craftspeople, and it's luxurious. And this idea of making heritage luxury was something that I was like fascinated with. And so my personal experience is, or the way that I want to express Indian culture and heritage is through that luxury lens, using ingredients like saffron. We use jasmine oil. 1 ounce is over $15,000 of that oil. So we use the most precious ingredients, because I think that's like a value that I can add, because I'm really focused on sourcing and finding unique things. But I think it's really exciting, because that also creates an opportunity as the need for Ayurveda grows, as people get more aware. Maybe someone will come in and create a more accessible version of it.
Does that mean that upscaling is possible, but it has to be done without this brand sort of like taking away from its
authenticity?
I think there's so many different, I mean, if you look at the Indian market, they've got so many different, companies. There's
we
like
said that in the beginning.
$2, or not even $2, probably like 50-cent toothpaste that's Ayurvedic.
I use it. It's called the red toothpaste.
Patanjali.
Ding.
Oh no, that's a different one. There's like an Ayurvedic one that's like brown toothpaste. It's kind of weird.
I think it might. It's a red one. It's like a powder, and you use it.
No, this is called Patanjali. It's
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. I use that one, and everyone's like, "What did you do to your teeth? Do you get wine?" No. I just use this.
No way.
And my gums are always healthy and all of that stuff. And I always use that one. Nothing else. I only use this powdery thing, and I put it on, and it's so good. It's so good. And I can. I
learned something today.
Yeah. And so I got this, and I said, it must be, and my uncle gave it to me. Oh, I'll use this. This will help your toothache. And I used it, and it was really good. And I kept using it. And I can get like a whole load of bottles for about £1. I can get 10 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it worked just better than anything else would cost $4 or anything like that here.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So on that note, right, like in India, there's accessibility where you can get things for super cheap. And then they have like even high-end Ayurvedic products too. So that's really cool that market is really built out.
Yeah.
But here, I think there's work to be done on creating,
And how does the branding work in, I guess, in America, in India? Do you sell in India, or are you very much for
America
the Western
and London,
America?
yeah.
So we are very much global.
Right.
However, the kind of the regulatory thing that you mentioned
Yes.
earlier, just
Yes.
customs and getting anything into India, because what we do is we export from India.
Yes.
We have all of our packaging throughout Europe. We do a lot of like custom packaging in France and all of
Nice.
this stuff. So we're making all these beautiful glass vessels because of our luxury positioning. We really want to provide that like look and feel, that
Yeah.
elevated vibe. And so we did that. And then if we send it back to India, they add like a 40% duty on it.
What?
Yeah.
After
so we
all of
are,
that?
After all that. So we can't, even though the inside product is from India, we actually can't send it back without literally, and then they're charging it on our MSRP because it's in the final packaging.
Right.
So it's actually crazy hard to get it back into the country.
And also, I just wonder how, I mean, capitalism is such, that's how, the world works. But if I were an Indian living in India, I'd be like, hold on, you've taken my
My
products
heritage.
and then you're
Yeah.
selling it back to me. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
like I
I
kind of
think-
feel it makes more sense in what you're doing in terms of you're bringing that out to the rest of the world, people who can't access it.
But it's weird though. There's so many people in India love the brand.
Of course.
And it's all,
Yeah.
but which to me, I didn't think about that because I was like, well, you guys have everything. You
Yeah.
have access to it all. You're probably not going to care about my little
Yeah.
old brand. But we daily, on the daily, and it's hard. And I actually am going to do a video about this because we get asked so much. It's like, well, why, you're Indian heritage. It's from India. You always talk about made in India, but it can't be
sold in there.
Yeah, it can't be sold there. And honestly, it's just a real challenge. And we
Wow.
only have so many resources and so many people working on the team. So it's hard to solve that. We have to actually create a whole new company in India.
Yeah,
all the accounting, all of the taxes, like all, you need like a infrastructure.
Yeah, it's literally like almost like finding a franchisee to say, look, you deal with it in that country.
Well,
yeah.
that, or I mean, honestly, it's like even more complicated than that because
Yeah.
there's all this like manufacturer information and things like that. So I have to basically relaunch my company, rebuild it in India with like local Indian people because that's the only way. Which I'm very excited about doing that, and I will do that one day. I want like a store, and,
nice.
and I want to do it all, but I
These things
have
take
to be
time.
I have to be really realistic about. And I'll never accomplish anything if I'm doing things in different countries. And
I agree. I totally
So I have
agree.
to be focused, but I absolutely want to. And if anyone listening knows about how to better import my product
base.
into
Yeah.
India, let me know. 'Cause
I love it.
it's not for not trying.
No,
that's for sure.
exactly. We just wanted to focus as well on you, the businesswoman, because behind all of this product and this belief, it's the business, it's the number crunching that it comes down to. What has that process been like for you? Have you enjoyed it? Being an entrepreneur, being a business woman who's really focusing on something you're really passionate about.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, I would kind of say in the lens of like I kind of grew up that way. So my parents moved to the U.S. in the 70s, and my dad was laid off from his job, and he kind of grew up with having his parents had a chemicals company and all of that. So he started his own company in the basement of our home in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with like no help, like nothing.
Wow.
He couldn't even afford products, so he'd sell the product and then buy it and then sell
So
it.
reinvest in
Yeah.
the product.
And so that happened, and still is happening, 40 years later. So it's been really cool. So I grew up, we didn't have like fancy summer camps that we'd go to like all of the kids these days. It was like, my summer camp was in my dad's office, helping packing orders. Sometimes I just, play and pretend, but I was around that constantly. I was around the business aspect of the brand,
Yeah,
and
wow.
it was our family. It wasn't like there was something separate, it was just, that's us.
This is what we do.
It's what we do,
This is what we do.
yeah.
Yeah, free child
Typical-
labor is brilliant.
Yeah.
So you got your kids in the basement as well now.
Oh my God. My kids, it's so sweet. I like really do get them to, like, I love when they ask questions about it. And
Yeah.
so I really get them, and I'm like, should we sell this? What should we do? And I get them involved because I feel like that when I look back at my childhood, like it was really exciting to be a part of, my dad. I didn't know anything else. It's a typical Gujarati upbringing.
Yeah,
that
it's a
I
typical
had.
Asian
Yeah.
experience because
Yeah.
that's we know so many people back home. It's like corner shops. Shay went on the summer holidays. was at our uncle's place in Birmingham and helping in the shop over the holidays.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You just muck in and that's get on with it, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a very South Asian
Shared experience,
It's
yeah.
an attribute for sure.
And look at that, you're the most famous corner shop in the world, Harrods. So that's really
Oh,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's really famous South Asian attribute with the fact that if you're at a point where you realize, actually, I don't want to work for someone, I can do this myself and establish this as a business. It's something that we've seen time and time again within South Asian communities in the US, in Australia, in England. It's something that's really, I don't know if it's would you say it's in the blood for all of us?
I mean,
it feels
that way.
I think it's,
the culture.
it comes down to, immigrant experience. And I will say that obviously people in India are very business-minded too. So
yes.
maybe it's not related to immigrants necessarily, but I definitely think for my generation, being first generation, or even people that actually did, like my dad's and his generation, I mean, so much of that experience is about proving yourself and having nothing and being scrappy and doing something with not a lot of resources, and that's like what you need to do for business.
Ruckus Avenue Radio.
And how is LA? I mean, how long have you been here in LA?
9 years.
And the 9 years you've been here, did you find that this is the place you need to be? Or would you have been better off somewhere else setting everything up?
This is like the epicenter for beauty. And I moved here because my husband grew up here. So I didn't move here for work or anything like that. And that was before I even had this idea of starting a beauty company. But then it kind of worked out.
And you fell in love with this place?
Yeah. I mean,
and your husband, would he have moved away from here if you asked him to?
No. Even like on our first date, he was like, so, I have to go back to California. I was like, well, I mean, I'm sure I'll change his mind like
that's
now
what,
and then. So I didn't take it too seriously, but then I ended up liking it in the process. So it was cool.
So when you see this city as someone who's a native now, you've been here for 9 years, do you still feel you're from here, or do you still feel you are a visitor? Even though your life is here.
I do feel a little bit like a. I mean, I do, because I think it's such a big space. So I'm always meeting new people, and I think that's part of feeling like it's new all the time. Yeah, and that's what's exciting about it. It never gets old. I don't know. I feel like life has just gone by, especially seeing it now through my kids and having that whole experience. And then as an entrepreneur, kind of connecting with other moms or other people that have businesses, like you just get all these different lenses, and it's really fun. But I feel like my ideal life would be a third in LA. I have to add Chicago in there somewhere. So
I have to add Chicago.
But then maybe London for the summers, and then India.
And India?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be
Whereabouts in India?
Mumbai.
Oh, really?
Oh, very
okay.
nice.
I'm such a fan, and I haven't been in so long because of all the. Hopefully, I'm going soon.
Because of COVID and it's a tough time for everyone.
So you have family out there, or you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
It's nice when you have family. I think
because I went out
definitely
there and
makes
I was
such a
like, I ain't
difference.
going back there.
No, if you don't have family, it's pretty tough.
Is it? You see the racism clearly then, right? I mean, the most racist country in the world, and so you see it when you don't have family. With your family, you just like in the house and
also, I just think like it's such a soulful. Like you have to know all the little corners and all the little.
Oh
areas
I was shown every corner, and I was like, really? This is it's just a contrast.
I feel like you have to elaborate when you say something like the most racist country in the world.
Well, there's so much division there, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about division, racism too, within the culture and hierarchies and all of that, you can't sit with that person because he's from a lower caste, and even though they're in the same job, that you can't break bread with them. All of those kind of nuances that you see it, but you don't see it at the same time because it's so normal. Even the people who are being discriminated against know themselves not to go in that room. I'm like, really? I'm like, you're not fighting against this because it's been there for millennia, right? It's like it's all part of the inbuilt. Anyway, that's a different story. But I love the fact that you are still here and you are going to take this on to the next level. So what's happening in 2023?
Oh God, I mean, well, maybe India at the end of 2023. I'll put it out there as a possibility. But no, 2022 was all about infrastructure.
Right.
So built a team, and we're getting all our processes in place. We weren't able to launch a product because I wanted to make sure I could sell and support the products that I had. And then I think next year we have a lot of awesome new treatments, new products coming out. And then I want to make it back to London more.
Come.
I
I'd
want
love to see.
maybe live a little bit of my dream of being in India for a bit. I also want to launch in the Middle East, so maybe that'll happen next year. I'm not sure.
That'd be really cool.
And then we have a big announcement in launching in 250 Sephora stores in the next 2 weeks. So
Huge
congratulations.
congratulations.
So your social media must be really hard on like content, right? You've got to get all this out to your fans.
We have to share. Yeah, so it's going to happen. Well, next week I'm going on vacation.
Oh, okay.
And-
It's going to happen after that.
Yeah,
It's
I need my
happening
holiday.
Need my holiday.
Need my
And it's
holiday.
happening right after that, which is so exciting. Yeah, it's
Cool.
going to be a new chapter for the brand. I'm looking forward to it.
And how do we say it? We call it Ranavat, but how do
I like that. No, that's like
how do you say it?
Anil's family is Ranavat,
Ranavat.
but I like Ranavat because I think that's probably
Isn't that
more
how it's said
authentic.
in Hindi?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But
You
even
roll
his
the
dad
t- you
calls
roll
it
the
Ranavat.
R's.
Yeah, so
Ranavat. And everyone,
Ranavat.
like all my like English friends say it that way too. They
Oh,
say
good.
The proper
So they're getting
way.
it right.
Yeah.
They have
but
to be
say
you
educated.
guys
Ranavat.
get it
Wow.
right. No one else, like other countries, that's obviously not, no one in America.
So what did in America? Okay, so what would you guys say?
Yeah, what would you say?
Can I see it?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
now?
Ranavat.
Yeah,
That's what
roundabout. So wait,
Roundabout.
R-A-
It's like roundabout.
No, roundabout.
Roundabout.
Hey,
Ranavat.
look, there it is. There
There
it
you
is.
go.
No bias, I would say Ranavat.
Yeah. That's
Ranavat.
fine.
Roundabout.
There we go.
There you go. You want to have a go, mate?
He
He's just
turned
looking at- he's like,
around.
yeah, don't even look at me.
Okay,
I would have
fine.
been like Ranavat. I would have.
Yeah,
That's
Ranavat.
fine.
Yeah.
You said it right.
You're good.
Well done.
Yeah,
There
you
go.
said that really well,
There you go.
actually.
And with
And
that,
so-
our time is run down.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry because we could have kept on speaking for ages. And these conversations, we learn something from it all the time.
Well, we'll have
Oh,
to,
it's
we're
awesome.
continuing with the podcast, and when we're back, we'd love to get you back in to kind of, get a follow up and find out how things are going. But Ranavat, how we say it, or Ranavat.
Ranavat.
Time is run about.
That's how the team say it.
I like
Go to the
it.
website, Ranavat, RANAVAT.com. Michelle Ranavat, a real pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
for
you.
joining us. That's it for Sunday night for this podcast series. We'll be back for the next episode.
Yeah, see you soon.